So, all right, well, I saw a couple other people come in. It's 1:05. I'd like to go ahead and get started. My name is JT Nelson. I'm part of the Fracture Modifier team. Fracture Modifier is a special build of Blender. It's a separate code base, but it's an official branch of Blender. So if you download the Blender source code as a developer, you can go ahead and pick the Fracture Modifier branch, compile it, and then you can work with it and edit it. All the underneath work is all done in C and C++. All of the front-end work is all done in Python. So all you developers, like we talked about earlier, if you want to jump in on something fun, you like the analytical part of being a programmer, but you want to do some fun stuff for Hollywood, jump in on our Python side. I got a great web page on my GitHub for the Fracture Modifier, for our Pi menu and our add-on that I'm going to show you. And there's also a bullet constraint builder I'll talk to you about later, which we're going to try and add that to the VFX mix. And so there's lots of opportunity to do some fun stuff. If you do it on a volunteer basis, I will tell you right now, there's plenty of work in Hollywood. They just need to see your work. They need to see you working on Fracture Modifier and some of these other things, so they know you can work on Hollywood software, and then there's jobs for you. They come up regularly. Every single month I get called or emailed saying, hey JT, you got somebody that can do this for me? And I gotta, either I have somebody or I just gotta send them out to the usual places to find something. So if you're looking for work and want to do a little change of pace part-time from the DevOps stuff that you're doing, it's really fun working with Hollywood software, really, really fun. All right, my organization is SoCal Blender. I organize a lot of the Blender user group meetings in town, so that's another way to find me. You can just search Meetup for Los Angeles Blender, and it'll pop right up on an internet search. It's easy to find us, go to our meetings. We're having meetings on the west side, and I'm starting meetings in Pasadena in affiliation with Pasadena Media, Pasadena Media, and you'll be able to go to actually a brick and mortar location, so it'll be a real nice one specific location to get to some of the meetings. Okay, we're here at Linux Expo. What's the secret to open source? People are the secret sauce, not the software. If it wasn't for the people in the Fracture Modifier team, there would be no Fracture Modifier software. There wouldn't be a VFX software like what we do for large-scale destruction if it wasn't about the team. We talk about this all the time. If it wasn't us as a group and the people being more important in the process, this tool would not be the best tool in the known universe for this type of stuff. I like saying that because it's been in movies. So the people are the secret sauce. Okay, this is our current web page. We got a new one coming up. This is Dennis DeFossi. He's a visual effects artist out of Germany. The whole team is German. I'm the only American. They're the only person outside of Germany on the core team. And I'll like to say right now, I am very thankful that we have an international team and that a fantastic bridge has been gapped between Germany and the US, especially with everything that's in the news. I'm just absolutely proud of the way our team behaves, the way we collaborate, the way we're friends online, and the respect we treat each other. I'm just really honored to be a part of the team and to have known these gentlemen for several years and worked with them. And this is, all you gotta do is search Fracture Modifier. I'll talk that in a minute, and all these pages come up. They're really easy to find. This is our team, Martin Felke. First one, he's the core programmer. He's the one that started it. Kai Kostak, you're going to see some of his work. He does some fantastic work, university research work, and he's also part of the team. There's me. And Dennis DeFossi, he hosts the current website, and he's done some of the videos that I'm going to show you. Him and Kai have done some of the videos. So it'll be really fun to see what they've been doing. And we have Jens Verweebe. He does our Linux build for us. He's got some optimizations that are just fantastic. I have Fracture Modifier running faster on a Windows host with VirtualBox, a Linux guest, and Jen's Fracture Modifier compiles, because he's optimized them, faster than native Windows. And it's just fantastic, and we're really grateful to have him. He worked with the Lux Render project. You might know his name, especially if you know Lux Render. And really thankful. Martin, back in the day, I remember someone said, hey, JT, that guy that did that add-on for the Blender game engine is in Blender Coders chat. You got to come talk to him. Sounds like you put Fracture Modifier, or Fracture tool in a modifier. And I'm going, what? And we use instant relay chat, this old instant relay chat. Jumped in, started talking to him, really nice guy. So props to Martin Felke. If him and I wouldn't have hooked up in the first place, I kept egging him on, and now we've got several years in on this. And sometimes it's, it's a labor of love, because sometimes it's just really hard. a lot of features, a lot of bugs. You know, sometimes you just get burnt out. And I'm just really proud of Martin sticking with it. And along the way, Martin has added Kai Kostak. He did some university research I'll talk about later, done some fantastic videos. I've stunned Hollywood for a couple years now with his videos. Very popular on YouTube. He gets a pretty high hit count. There's me. I'm an open source evangelist. I do live events, started in open source years ago. Got tired of proprietary software and license keys. They kept killing me in live events. Started using VLC, then I started using Blender again, and then I've gone all open source and I push it all over the live event, AV, and media industry. Been an open source advocate ever since, and that's been years ago, way before even 2009. Dennis Fossbender, really happy to meet with him and work with him. He does a lot of our demo videos. He's really good at advertising, has a really nice website, promotes Fracture Modifier, does some really cool stuff. You'll see some of his videos. And he pushes the workflow, the VFX workflow for us, along with people in our thread. And because of that workflow, he'll find a bug, or he'll find an issue, or he'll find a challenge. He put a speed modifier in for us. Then I'll show you that video. It's really cool where you can modify the speed of explosion. And without his help and without the whole team, Fracture Modifier just would not be what it is. And again, props to the team. Hello to you guys that watch on the recording or watching on the live stream. So, all right, enough love. All right, here's my documentation page. This is part of the Blender Wiki. If you search Fracture Modifier documentation, it'll come up. It's everything basically you need to know, so I don't need to give you a link or anything. Just search on any of the search engines. Fracture Modifier documentation, wiki page will come up. There's some links on it. You're good to go. Right now, this is not artist-friendly documentation. It's very technical. But if you spend a little bit of time, start memorizing some of the stuff, you'll find one of the most powerful free tools on the planet if you do media production. Several producers and several visual effects artists have said so. It's, hey, don't be afraid of it when you jump in. This is really cool stuff. So, again, props to Kai Kostak. He does a lot of our videos, and he's an integral part of the algorithms that are developed. Wait till you see, it's going to be the first broadcast other than going on YouTube. I'm going to show you something we're working on. Outstanding. I even not have told Hollywood about this yet, and I can't wait. So, sorry, they don't give tape with these mics. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. You'll see Kai's playlist. He regularly does stuff. You'll see quite a few videos. He gets some pretty high counts, 3,000, 4,000, 20,000, 613,000. You know, he's got some pretty high counts on some of the videos, so we're thankful to have him, and he just does some really cool stuff. So this is his YouTube page. You can go onto YouTube and search for your Fracture Modifier, and Fracture Modifier videos will come up. Search Blender plane crash. In one of the videos I show you, the Alban Merrill plane crash video, which I stunned Hollywood at SIGGRAPH with. They loved it. And go to Kai Kostak, Kostak Studio, his YouTube page. You'll see some fantastic, he put together a Fracture Modifier playlist for us. And he's got some really cool videos. He specializes in destruction for survivor detection. So what it is he does simulations with the Fracture Modifier, to where when a building collapses, he does a simulation of the collapse to where they can find out where potentially survivors are, pockets of open area. And that's with this Inakis, or however you pronounce it, sorry, don't know how to pronounce it, project that he's doing with a university in Europe. You can also search for a bullet constraint builder, and that information will come up. That's the tool that they use to make these simulations. And it's just astounding. When you see some of his overlays to where it's the Fracture Modifier and bullet constraint builder did the simulation, in the actual collapse of the building, they're almost identical. And it's just fantastic that an open source piece of software that we've been developing for animation and visual effects is used to save people's lives. So I'm pretty excited about that, pretty excited about Kai's work with that. Props out real quick before I get started, actually showing some videos and showing you Fracture Modifier. I want to let you know that we develop primarily on Ubuntu-based flavors, anything from Linux Mint. I develop on Lubuntu. This is a new computer. I haven't fully set it up yet for my development environment, but I use Qt and Ubuntu. It's really easy for me to copy the virtual machines over. So I use Windows Host, and I can just have the same virtual machine on an SD card, and I just take it and I can develop on any computer. I just install VirtualBox real quick, and my development environment comes right up. So really, really slick. Wouldn't be able to do it with proprietary software, but I can do it with open source and Linux, so I'm stoked. And we develop primarily on Linux, and then Kai uses Windows, so he builds our Windows build for us, and he does most of his Python stuff in Windows but Martin codes in Linux. Jens uses Linux, and I use Linux. So just so you know, props out for them. I'd like to get some love to Ubuntu Studio. That's what I used for my presentation this morning. It's an audio, and I worked with them a couple years ago about beefing up their video presence, but it's a Ubuntu flavor that basically is going to be, I can't remember what they called it. It's being discontinued. So I talked to people at the earlier meeting, see if we can't continue it, and see if we can't keep building the video and visual effects aspect of it. Right now, it does have Blender installed as a default, so if you want to download a distro of Linux that has Blender installed already, it's an older Blender, you can get Ubuntu Studio. And I'd love your support. I'm going to work with some people that I've met here, and we're going to see if we can't kind of revise it, maybe have Hollywood start helping out, see if we can't keep that project going and insert some fresh faces in it and keep it going. But I like to give them some love. I used to use them all the time. I use Ubuntu mostly now, but I just want to give them some props. And they do have Blender by default already installed. So if you download and you install it, it'll have Blender ready, set, go. So, and you got full audio also all configured for it already. Woohoo! Here's the fun part. Now, I'm going to try to go in and do a little bit in Fraction Modifier, but I don't have room for a mouse. And you can't run Blender without a mouse. And I have a 1024 by 768 screen. So no mouse, no screen. I can't do a whole lot inside of Blender Fraction Modifier, but we'll see. And then I'm going to show you guys some videos. So, all right. Okay. Escape. Let's see here. Uh-oh. I may not have. Let's see here. I had to change the other distro actually crashed on me, the other virtual machine that I used, so I changed virtual machines and it looks like I didn't install it. So let's extract the fraction modifier and see how quick this is. Extract to Documents, Blender, Fraction Modifier, and you'll see how quick it is to install the Fraction Modifier. This is from Jens's extract. I was using Adobe After Effects, and it would take, I took 2 hours in a live event, didn't even get it because all the nag screens and serial numbers. I installed Blender one time in 35 seconds on a CEO's computer because you don't install it, you unzip it, had it up and running, fixed the video presentation that he had, saved it, within 2 minutes had it up on the screen when he needed it. That's how come I left Adobe and proprietary products, and after that said, all right, I'm sold, Blender all the time, Blender all the way. And this is several years ago. I just installed the Fraction Modifier, that's as easy as it is. Okay. Let's go to Documents. Blender, Fraction Modifier, Blender, Fraction Modifier, and Blender. Okay. You guys see how easy that was? That's it. I'm up and running. Visual effects software. One of the reasons this is proliferated in the industry is you can't install software on studio computers, but you can run an executable. So they just unzip it to their desktop and they run it. Sean Kennedy, one of the founders of the LA Blend group that I do, he talks about how he was the Birdman for Life of Pi because he was able to make birds in Blender and integrate them because of the workflow that he had. So everybody kept coming to him whenever they needed birds in the background of Life of Pi. Okay? And it's basically, he worked with his studio software, but he was able to use this fact that Blender can just be executed and was able to actually make birds for Life of Pi. And of course, you guys probably already know it, won an Oscar, rightfully so. And he uses Fraction Modifier too, by the way. So it ends up in TV shows and various other things. This is our default scene. I'll show you right away what it is. This is Blender if you're not familiar with it. This is going to be really painful for me to be on such a small screen and have no mouse, but we'll see what happens. Go ahead. Oh, no, I don't have room for a mouse. I'd have to do one of these. So thanks for offering, though. I have a mouse, but there's no room for it up here. All right, so what we do essentially is we mess with the default cube. This is our first test when we do anything in development. We just lift it up real quick. Since it's a fresh install, one other thing. I'm going to do File, User Preferences. This is good that you guys learn this stuff anyways. I'm going to go to Input and change it to left click. Because everybody in Hollywood uses left click, so I have to go over to left click. There's this Blender thing about left click, right click. You can read about it. It's kind of comical. What you do is you go to add-ons, and we have a very special add-on that goes with Blender. And this is one of the things I'm going to talk about later for you programmers. We're going to go install add-on from File. And we're going to go to Documents, Blender, Fracture Modifier, and there's this little Fracture Extra right here. We're going to go to the Fracture Helper and click on Install Add-on from File. When we do that, go ahead and tick the add-on. Now we're going to have a panel on the left-hand side that's part of the key to Blender. It's just a little Fracture tab over here. This is something that's been developed with Dennis DeFosse. I've started helping development. Him and Martin have come up with some tools that really aid the workflow. And this is one of the reasons it's being adopted by so many different people. This workflow really speeds things up. I'm hearing from people, the stuff that takes days and weeks, they're doing in hours and days with this software because the workflow is so much faster than the existing workflow out there. And time is money. So basically, it's the tool and it's this add-on combined because we got some workflow stuff. So our test scene always, whenever we have a new feature, whenever we have a new build, the very first thing we do to test is we add a cube, and then we add a plane. So we're going to add a plane, scale the plane. Okay. Woo, not that big. Try that again. See if I can do a little bit. Hold on. Sorry about that. This is it's going off screen, so I'll just deal with it. All right, we got a really big plane. I wanted you to see these shards fall off the edge. That's why I wanted a smaller plane. Either way, it doesn't matter. All right, so Fracture Modifier very simply is a modifier in Blender. So all you do is, with our tool installed, you select the cube first, and you go Add Fracture. Okay? Select the plane, because this is integrated directly with bullet physics. So you select the plane, because they're going to intersect with each other, or they're going to collide with each other, and you just do Add Rigid Body, and you change it to a passive rigid body. You change it to passive, so gravity doesn't affect it, and it doesn't fall, otherwise it'll fall with the cube. The actual cube itself is, in fact, a active object, and it's going to be what the Fracture Modifier interacts with the sim and actually develops the animation. What I'm going to do over here is going to go ahead and just hit play, and you'll see the cube fall and break up. Shard count is 10 by default, and that's our test scene. That's how we always test it to begin with. Okay, program's working, the build work, and then we go and we add more complicated scenes. But that's your basic scene. One of the keys when you do work with Fracture Modifier, first time you hit the sim, hit the play button, let the whole sim through the range that you've defined develop, and then stop the Fracture Modifier if you want to stop the loop. And then always go back to frame 1. So it's one of the learning curve things that if you try and mess with it for visual effects, you might not have to do that with other software. You have to do that with Fracture Modifier. Let the whole sim play first, and then go back to the first frame and do everything out of the first frame, and you're good to go. In Blender in general, you just have to remember your pointer. One of the learning curve, people say Blender has a high learning curve. It really doesn't. It just has a steep initial learning curve. Once you learn it, then everything actually starts flying really fast. One of the learning curves is you just can't clear your mouse into another area because hotkeys are area relative. So if you're doing something in the 3D viewport, keep your cursor in the 3D viewport and use your hotkeys. What happens is people put it in the property editor and their 3D viewport hotkeys aren't working. Darn it, Blender's not working, this stupid program, I hate it. No, quit clearing your mouse to another part of the screen. 3D viewport, keep it there. Same thing with Fracture Modifier. So since it's Blender-based, you got to keep up with the same things that are happening with Blender. So, all right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go over here, and 10 shards is not enough. I've found, in actuality, 1 to 300 shards pretty much takes care of it. Where you find it here is in the physics. Let's see if I can do this without a mouse. I can't enable mouse emulation, but it's kind of weird. So you can see shard count down here, so I'm just going to adjust this to 100. And anytime you adjust anything above where you see this execute fracture, you just have to hit execute fracture again. So I'm going to go ahead and hit execute fracture. Did it on frame 1 or frame 0. Hit play. And now you'll see I have 100 shards. Okay? So that's basically the key to the fracture modifier. And there's all these other tools also. In not only the add-on, but we've got over 100 settings. And basically, these control all your constraints. So people are coming up with some fantastic animations with a very fine level of control. That's why some of these studios, instead of taking weeks and days to do stuff, they're doing it in hours and days, because all the settings you want to customize something is right there at your fingertips. And it's through all these features and through using, we got auto smoke, auto debris, things of that sort. So, all right, I'll come back to this later. We'll take a look at it because I want to show you the user interface and the Python stuff. Let's take a look at some videos. Sound good? All right, let's go ahead and start with, here's one of my favorite to show. This one I played at SIGGRAPH. They really liked it. This is, we talked to Kai Kostak, said, Kai, we need something that's a little bit better for our debris system. And this is something that he did. It's got a really neat soundtrack that goes along with it. And you'll see here. This is our automatic debris and dust system. This is one of the things that also saves time. It's really cool with the soundtrack that he's got. He's got this real boom, boom, boom soundtrack. And, but you can see when the breaking apart the interfaces of the asteroids and the dust and debris system, all automatic in our system. Workflow is bam, bam, bam. You're hitting tick boxes, you're doing sliders, doing a few amounts, you're hitting play, that play button, and bam, it comes up. Then you texture it, and you're good to go. And you can do stuff like that. Very quickly. It took him a while to render it, but he's able to produce that video fairly quickly. So this is my bread and butter. I'm going to show you the first one that I saw. This is Alban Merrill. This is that French gentleman that decided on some of his time off he was going to go ahead and learn how to use our tool, and this is what he came up with. The tree destruction, ground destruction, and the plane destruction was all handled by the fracture modifier. Let me play that one more time. This is the other one that really people really enjoyed at SIGGRAPH. A lot of people from the visual effects industry came to the booth because of this video. And they just watched it over and over again. Did a free piece of software, did this. It's like, wow. Of course, what's the secret sauce? Not the software. Secret sauce is the person. Alban Merrill did a great job. We really appreciate his videos. Let me show you his VFX breakdown. It's really kind of cool. Let me see. This is his whole breakdown. And this is his end product. Again, he did this in a week. He said, oh, I want to learn your tool, so how about I do this? And this is what he came up with. All the trees, the ground, and everything is all being controlled by the fracture modifier. And this is just visual effects breakdown stuff that they do for people in general. Different layers. This is a real cool feature in Blender where you can tell Blender to only process the information that's in the viewport. Really speeds things up. One of the features of Blender that makes it an outstanding tool. So it doesn't waste processor time on other aspects of the scene that the actual camera can't see. So, all right, enough of that. Again, thanks to Alban Merrill for that video. This is really cool. This is another one of Kai Kostak's videos. Again, he does destruction research, airplanes and buildings, and this one's, I think this one's got like 60,000 hits, something like that. Again, this is a cycles render. I like the title, Car versus Plane. Plane wins. And it's funny, the YouTube trolls, if a plane was really breaking apart, this angle and that angle and this will fall. It's like, okay, guys, thanks. That's cool. Appreciate it, but that's not the point of the video. So, but that's a cool video. Again, you can see, search for Kai Kostak's work on YouTube. So, I can't show you some of this stuff because we're being recorded. Sorry about that. Let me see. I'll show you another one that I did of Kai's. SIGGRAPH. This is just outstanding. This is our deforming metal. We talked about this for about a year, and I kept telling them, no, you guys, we can do a frame-based simulation. We don't need simulation overhead. Oh, but Blender Foundation won't let us have an internal cache. It doesn't matter. We can do a frame-based. So finally, I quit talking about it. I get busy with work, and in Scorpion, I come in the chat, he goes, hey, JT, want to see a new video? I go, oh, sure. And I'm thinking, oh, whatever, he's just got something new we're working on, and he shows me this video. And I about fall out of my chair. In 1 month's time, Kai did some Python tests, Martin coded it in C, and we unleashed on the world free bending metal and deforming plastic and fake cloth in a free open source program on a frame-based algorithm. It's like, I actually stopped my presentation at SIGGRAPH because I was going to yell at everybody for being on their phone because it got quiet. And I stopped. You can hear in my recording that you can hear me glitch and like that. Everybody was glued to the screen when I was talking about this because they're animators and visual effects people. And none of them were on their phone, nobody. And I was kind of stunned. I go, hey, this is pretty cool. I'm not trying to be boisterous, but this is phenomenal. This is frame-based. There's no overhead for simulation. There's not a whole lot of math. There's not a whole lot of memory. There's not a whole lot of cache. And it's near real time. Of course, he didn't render the video with all the textures in near real time. But workflow is near real time. This is phenomenal. The industry tries to catch up with the fracture modifier. Cinema 4D's done it. Houdini's done it. It's part of my talk earlier this morning about democratizing Hollywood. They see us, these crazy Germans, and this American guy who's animated. They're saying about me, JT's cool, you just push the button and he goes. But I've been basically evangelizing for Blender and the fracture modifier here in Hollywood. There's no telling what the effect and why people use it, but I like to think the free meetings we put on in my loud mouth helps. Very proud of the team, like I gave him props earlier. Very proud of Kai Kostak. He did this, and then he was able to release the video. But that was stunning. A free piece of open source software does that. It's bending metal. You can do bending metal in other software. You just don't have the workflow we have. And it's 3 checkboxes in one setting. That's all it is. To do bending metal, deforming plastic, and fake cloth. Let me come up with I'll do the steel beam simulation. This was my inspiration doing something like this. This is the current technology, what we could do before and what every other piece of software does with rigid bodies. It's multiple bodies linked together and you got all these gaps and stuff. Okay, and that's an interaction. That's the way you can do it. But what it is I kept hollering at them, saying, no, we can do this, we can do this. And Kai and Martin came up with a way that's a smart doubles remover and auto weld. To where you literally break it, re-merge it, break it, remerge it, and this is what we have now. So for visual effects, which is fantastic, just fantastic. Let me get rid of some of these other windows here real quick. Any questions while I'm, let's see here. Anything. I do this on a $250 laptop in the 3D view. Rendering's a whole nother story. But I get it on an Intel Celeron dual-core 1.2 gigahertz, $250 laplet I do this stuff on. Because it's frame-based. I don't have to use the math processor and all this other stuff, at least that part of it. And at a low level, 300 shards, you're good to go. Once you get, and you do have to use, like something I'm gonna show you later, you can't do it on a computer like that. So what do? You use a client, you remote into another computer that's beefier, and you use your $250 laptop, and it works just fine. So literally, Blender in itself to begin with, and then the way we've designed the fracture modifier, works on any computer, practically. So you can do it on low-end stuff. Where you run into problems is when you want to render. Kai's got a really good computer for rendering. This is a gaming computer. This is about a $1,700 computer. So you have to pay for that, and then you hook up the render servers. But development-wise, if you want to do something, send it off to me, send it off to somebody else. Most of the render farms love it. The Blender official version and Blender fracture modifier frequently are the only two Blender builds that they'll run on a render farm, by the way. Some render farms won't run it, but others will. So I'm really happy with the community. And we deal with them and work with them at SIGGRAPH to help make sure that happens. So, but yeah, pretty much it'll work on just about any computer to a degree. Like I said, I present with it and work with it all the time on a Acer Spin, which is a $250 laptop. So let's do some glass. So this is really popular. Glass, fracture modifier is very well suited for glass. This has a very lovely, we have an auto hide feature, which, like I said, our workflow, it's all built in. The auto hide is a tick box, and it auto hide the crack. If you do any visual effects work and you know about it, when you crack something, all the cracks show up. And then when you have a physics interaction where something hits it, then the shards break apart. Well, we said, well, we can't do that. We got to fix this. We got to fix this. And Martin, for the most part, came up with a hiding system to hide the cracks. Again, fantastic piece of open source software does that. And it's built right into our workflow. So you don't have to do some, voodoo magic to get it to work. So do a couple other ones right here. This is another one. This was one of the first videos by Dennis DeFossi where he's showing when the auto hide feature first came out. This is really a cool video. Dennis likes to put these little headers on his videos. But you can see how the cracks look like they're propagating? That's our auto hide feature. Open source piece of software. Okay, let me play that again. Now watch the cracks seem to appear. Blender doesn't do this. Only the fracture modifier build does. Okay, we added this feature. So, phenomenal. Visual effects people say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I can't use it if it doesn't have that. We just did a thing for one of the AAA video games. They love the fracture modifier. And he just did it with some breaking ice, and they just got all kinds of kudos. I can't remember the name of the game, sorry. And they said, wow, look at that intro. And the guy, he gave us total props, said, thank you so much for your tool. It really fantastic tool. So this one's kind of cool. This is a peeling effect. Okay, it's one of the guys that does videos for us, posts them on YouTube. So he likes to use it. And let's see here, plane crash. Let me do a couple more. Can't show you. If you check the Fortnite, that's a really cool. Fortnite is Electronic Arts. They hired a guy to come over and do a cinematic trailer for this really huge video game. It's extremely popular. If I recall, it's got millions and millions of users. And it just came out recently. And as the story goes on the Electronics podcast, they brought some really accomplished visual effects artists over from Industrial Light and Magic to work on this trailer. And the guy walks up and says, well, I hope you guys use Blender because that's what I use, and I use the fracture modifier build. So there's actually two other people that do use Blender at Electronic Arts. They teamed up and they did the Fortnite trailer. Look it up online. It's a Fortnite cinematic trailer, not the gameplay trailer, cinematic trailer. And I can't show it here, but you'll see them breaking into a bar and smashing up stuff. They gave us a lot of love. They love the fracture modifier. So apparently they're using it at ILM. At least this one guy was. So, but I can't show you the trailer, but look it up on YouTube. Really, really cool. This is what people from the community do for us. Some guy, again, wanted to learn the fracture modifier, so he came up with this little short film. So I remember I heard about it, so okay, I'll watch that. So I'm like kind of watching it, going, oh, wow, cool, nice textures. Oh, look, he's got wind. Oh, that's kind of nice. Oh, I wonder where the fracture modifier is going to come in. Well, he's got rocks, so he's probably going to break something. Let me see, what's he going to do here? How is he going to use the fracture modifier? He's going to bust something here pretty quick. Maybe is the windmill going to fall off? What's going to happen? Well, he said oh! That's how he's going to use the fracture modifier. So I did a little lightning simulation, and the tower busted up. Really cute. I like to use that video. It's nice. Somebody in the community did it, and it goes to show you the community effort. So, Steven, whoever it is, you see the old mill. It's up on YouTube, and you can check him out. Let me see. Let me give you one or two more here. There's a glass one. Here's some videos from Dennis. You'll like this one. This is some of this is a little bit dark, but this is some of the stuff that Dennis DeFossi, one of our team members, came up with to show the visual effects capabilities of the fractal modifier. So this is Scorpion 81. It's the one that Dennis likes to use for his logo. Can you guys see okay with the lights? Is it good enough? Okay. Lights are a little bit bright. I love this part here. Love it. Like I said, the workflow is extremely fast. So studios are loving this. And I keep trying. And I've had studio people look at it and say, nah, that's a rendering. This is studio people in visual effects. It's Cycle's render engine. And Dennis is really good with this stuff. This one's kind of dark, but it's really cool when it's a bright presentation. But you can see it online. This is the fractal modifier. If you search for it on YouTube, the glossy edition showreel. Dennis took forever to do this. This is a fluid sim interacting with the fracture modifier. I show this to visual effects people, and they just, like, their jaw drops. This is fantastic. Took him a while to dial it in, kind of sketchy, and a little bit janky the way he had to do it, but he did it. And just fantastic. Unbelievable that free software does this stuff. They pay people a lot of money in Hollywood to do this type of stuff. So, and I think he's got one more, a couple more here of this one. There we go. And he busted up, and then it says fractal modifier on there. All right, that's Dennis DeFossi. Let me do one more of Dennis's videos, see what he's got here. Again, we work with game engines too. You can bring this stuff into Unreal, Unity, things of that sort. Oh, this is cool. This is something Dennis did, and he put together to give like a real world example to people. That's Dennis DeFossi right there. So we were saying, hey, we need more demos. You know, what could we do for a demo? So that's really cute. We got some good plays out of this. We got a lot of good comments. Yeah, we're real thankful to have Dennis on the team. He's been instrumental in really giving us some great tutorials. And there's a bunch. If you just go to YouTube and search fractal modifier, you'll see there's several studios using it. Really popular in Germany, really popular in France. Russia, it was used in Hardcore Henry. Yeah, real good stuff. Dennis, let me do one more video from Dennis, and then we'll go back in and we'll open it up for some questions here. I'm going to show you some Python stuff. I want to show the speed. So Dennis said, we need a speed feature. So we coded one. Now you can control speed. I like this, control speed like a boss. So then, boom, we got it built right into the workflow. No, you just couple clicks, boom. Now you've got speed control. It's right in that add-on that we added, the helper add-on. So this is what you get when you have an open source and community project. Hey, can you do this? Yeah. A couple days later, a couple hours later, there you go. You know, you should see our support thread. Oh, wow, dude, this doesn't work. Martin says, oh, man, sorry. Jumps on, codes it, recompiles it, and goes, there you go, 3 hours later, you know. Sometimes it takes a day or two, a couple weeks, but either way it happens. You don't get that with proprietary software. Sorry, man. Proprietary software is great. We make it to where it's interactive with that. You can use Alembic, you can use FBX, you can use Collada. Actually, fractal modifier works great with Collada. We have a convert to objects, so you can convert it to a standard Blender scene to use in Blender Official. But we compile against Blender Official, so you can just use ours instead of Blender Official. Not one single time have we had somebody say, Blender acts stupid when we use the fractal modifier version. Now, when you do something crazy in fractal modifier, it might get a little weird. Like I tried 5,000 shards one time on a computer that had 3 instances of Blender running at the same time. And it slowed down, but, you know, so I can do some crazy stuff. All right, for some of you DevOps, let's go back and let's do some Python stuff. Come on. All right, this is our add-on here. What's really cool in Blender is as you're working with our add-on and any other add-on in Blender, you just got to mouse over and you'll see the Python command. All the UI in Blender is done in Python. So when you actually, you can do a Control-C, and then just open a text box in Blender, and change this to a text box, text editor, and add a new text file. Control-V. Oh, didn't work for some reason. First time I tried it as a demo. Okay, that should work. In regular Blender, it does. I might be picking the wrong thing. Control-C. Control-V. Oh, well. It should paste it in there. It'll paste that code snippet, so it'll paste the object. So it'll paste your Python reference. So if you don't need to type it in, you need to know like what the name of this tick box is or whatever. It'll automatically, and if I could right-click, you can do, let me see, copy data path, paste. There you go. See, same thing as, you can do it either mouse click or should be able to copy C. So you'll get the reference to what it is, to that button. So as you're coding and you're working with the add-on, so like let's say you're a pipeline developer or you're a tech artist. Tech artists know how to program and do artwork. Okay? You got all the Python tools right at your disposal. You got a text editor built in. It bridges really well with Addon and some of the other text editors. You can either work with us, help us on our add-on, or you can create your own add-on, which we'll actually do really quick. And then I'll open it up for questions. Blender's really slick. I really like it. I'm partial. If you go to the text editor, make it a little bit bigger, and you go to templates, you go to Python, and then we're going to add a UI panel. Add a UI panel. Okay. It says right here it's going to go to the Properties window in the Scene tab. All you do is right-click. You edit your script, your Python, boom, boom. You want a new tool. Edit, you go down here. Scene panel, go to the bottom. We should have, it should be, let's see here. Should have showed up right here. Uh-oh. Been cursed by there it is. Wrong panel. So what we did is we did in the templates, in the text editor, loaded up a Python script, right-click, execute, and then we just made this custom demo right here with all the different buttons and everything. So you can copy and paste like I showed you out of any part of the user interface, any part of the Fraction Modifier add-on, paste it into your own add-on, okay? Run the script, and all of a sudden you have your own custom panel. That's where, in part, where we get this very fast workflow. So let's go ahead and change it real quick. You can see here where it says the label is Layout Demo. We're going to go to this, and we're going to do Scale Demo. We're going to right-click, run script, and Scale Demo. You just saw the label change. That's the power of Blender and other programs that do this. So if you want to jump in, you want to help with Blender, you want to help with Fraction Modifier, great way if you know how to learn program Python. If not, learn how to program Python. You can get involved with these projects and you can go ahead and contribute. If you work with a studio, you want to work in Hollywood, you work with some other company that needs this, they need to do simulations, you can make a custom user interface for Blender, custom user interface for the Fraction Modifier, and save it out, and you're good to go. And again, you've got control over the workflow. Some other company doesn't have control over the workflow to where you have to wait for them. So actually, it's about time for questions. I can show you guys anything else if you want when we're over. We can go over custom stuff. I'll also try and pick out a booth at the, there's a few people that I'm familiar with in the expo. So I'll see if I can pick out a booth and I'll show some stuff up in high def on their TVs. Throughout the day, today and tomorrow and Sunday. So if you can. But I'd like to open it up for questions. Thanks for being patient. You guys were a great audience.
First question.
Thank you.
Does the medical people use Fraction
for like just to do videos, to do demonstrations, to teach medical people like what happens if a kidney stone is blasted or something is used to break all the plaque in blood vessels, or do they use something else?
Yes. Does the medical field, that should have been recorded, but does the medical field use Blender and refraction modifier? They do, they love it. They love it, yes. It's actually, if you start searching and know what to look for, there's even a molecular add-on where we now have water which uses something similar to the molecular add-on, where it uses metaballs. And then now that we have the bending metal, deforming plastic, and all this other stuff, you can simulate almost anything you want. And it's very popular in the medical industry, yes. That's an excellent, excellent question. And they love these free tools because you don't have to get authorization from your IT department. And you don't have to install it on your computer. You just unzip it and run it, and it runs. So yes, Blender's an outstanding solution for stuff like that. So, any other questions? Or?
How much of the stuff that you're doing in Fracture can be like made upstream to default Blender, or is that relevant?
We're working on it. We're working with them for version 2.8, but none of it. You have to use our branch. It's all, they rejected the code and said, no, I don't think so. So we said, we think so. And now we have over 100,000 downloads. We're one of the most popular branches of Blender. And it's basically taken on a life of its own. Martin wanted to give up. I said, man, we can't give up, dude. So I said, it's up to you. Person's more important than the process, but can you stick with this? And Martin said, yeah. And then the rest of the team stuck with it. And we've been a cohesive team ever since, even though we got rejected for inclusion in the 2.8 branch, or 2.7 branch. Say what?
Did they give a reason for rejection?
Yeah, there was kind of a big stink about it. They said Martin's code was crap. So they tried to help us and said, but you got a POS code. And in fact, Martin made something work that he shouldn't have been able to make work. It wasn't a POS piece of code. It was outstanding what he did. And he stuck with it. And they did. They have certain requirements. We do a couple things. We hack Blender. We do a couple hacks that they didn't like. So there's a little bit of a political stink. A lot of people were complaining. Visual effects people were going, are you serious? So we kind of kissed and made up. Things are smoothed over, and we're looking at working with them to change internal stuff with Blender so we don't have to hack it, and for it to be included in 2.8. And Hollywood's just clamoring to have it in 2.8. So we're working on it. But if not, we got 2.79. We compile against the official branch, so you can use ours instead of theirs. And we're officially supported by Blender as far as they host our code as an official branch. So it's all good. We've worked it out, and now they're really excited about having it in 2.8. So yeah, so it's worked out in the long run.
Who else?
Question?
There's a commercial about car crashes and the body just gets thrown forward like that. Is that fracture?
Yeah, you can do that. Kai
Modifier?
Kostak, if you look at his, he does a bunch of car crash stuff. Some of our demo files, if you go on to Blend Swap, one of the demo files I uploaded, it has instructions on it for a car crash. And it talks about metal and plastic settings. So blendswap.com, there's 2 fracture modifier videos, one where we have the fake cloth and one where we have a car crash. And that's got a demo file in it. It's got a text file that I put in there with instructions, what settings to change, and it works really well for that. And you'll see Kai Kostak. Wait, forgot one video. I gotta show another video. Oh well, I'll just talk about it real quick. No video, real quick. Go to Kai Kostak's page, okay? This is their official announcement right now. We are unleashing on the world, we already unleashed bending metal, deforming plastic, fake cloth, and fake water. What are we gonna do? We now have multi-pass physics we're working on. You can actually run the fracture modifier multiple times in one scene. This is phenomenal, people. We haven't even, this is the first time I've mentioned openly, we put up a YouTube video, but I'm gonna start blabbing about it to Hollywood. It's not in fracture modifier yet, but when it is, look out. It's a fantastic tool. So we're really excited about it. It's revolutionary to be able to do multi-pass physics, in my opinion. Question?
Another question. If, let's say that I wanted to put together a realistic car, the way a car is really put together, and I define Blender objects for the nuts, bolts, and screws, and the material they're made of, and all that. Can I come up with a animation of a realistic crash showing exactly how the metal's going to deform and all that?
Yes, you can, and watch Kai Kostak's YouTube channel. You can, and watch his bullet constraint builder. I talked about it a little bit, and I had some extra videos to show if we had time. But that has full material definitions, very similar to finite element methods as far as a material definition. And according to the material definition, it will break apart. So yeah, watch Kai Kostak's work, his work with bullet constraint builder. And I'm trying to get Hollywood to fund further work to turn bullet constraints builder into a visual effects piece of software, not just for that survivor detection of buildings. But yeah, he does some car crash stuff, and some other people do. It actually works really well for that, really well for that. And Blender does the bullets physics engine, so bullets very well suited for that. Yeah, that can be done. The workflow is improved. Go ahead, one more question.
Yeah, I remember that Blender has like several physics pipelines. Like, it's got wind, it's got bullet physics, it's got water, and this is the first time I've seen this fraction. So you showed a video where you had like the martini glass breaking. How deep can the stack be, and can they reciprocate, or do you have to like make the glass, the fracture thing go first, and then the water afterwards? I mean, you know how animations can be baked. Yeah, the animation can be baked, and then you use the next thing to kind of play around the pre-baked animation. I don't know if I'm asking
No, I know
a
exactly
question.
what you're talking about. We talk about it all the time. Yeah. I assume everybody heard the question that's online or the recording, but I'll repeat it just really quick and briefly. How can you mix simulations? They're not engines, these are different simulations. The martini glass was, in fact, the Blender water simulation, which you don't have to use it now. You can use fraction modifiers, fake water. It's a lot of work. We're working on improving it. Watch this next year. The fraction modifier team has some announcements to come that I'm not at liberty to say right now, but watch. We're working on that, and especially with our built-in tools. Now that we're working on and perfecting multi-pass bullet physics, not multi-threading, multi-pass, which means, like you said, you can put some of the data in and go online and look at Kai Kostak's webpage at the multi-pass. If not, see me afterwards. I'll show you a video that'll blow your mind. And it's the fracture modifier several times in one scene. And it's really, in my opinion, of course, I'm very dramatic at times, but in my opinion, it's revolutionary that you're getting it in an open source piece of software. But we're working on that. That's very important. And I'm one of the people that's really driving the team and driving other people to make sure we get that done in open source software. So you don't have to pay $100,000 to do it for a piece of software. So.
Okay, let's have a round of applause.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.